Welcome to Creative Tian channel. Today we are going to do the side panel for our blanket knitting, and this is the part 3 of our blanket knitting series. In the part 1 video we did the center part. I used the tuck stitch, so it has an interesting texture, and you can use this side as a front or as a back. And in the part 2 we did the top and bottom edge or the border, and I'm just using simple stockinette stitch without any ribbing. And this part can be done easily if you start and end with knitting a few extra rows of stockinette stitch and fold it over and sew it back. And the only thing left is the side edge or the side panel. And I want to have something similar to the top and bottom edge. And we could simply do that by knitting a few rows and fold it over and sew it up. But because our LK150 has limited needle, so I have to do it separately. But if you are just doing a small baby blanket, you can get away with knitting extra on both sides, just a stockinette stitch and fold it over. So now the idea is to pick up the stitch from the sides and knit a panel of stockinette stitches, and I will fold it over and sew it back. We can also turn it this way and hand it back to the machine and knit it the same way as the top and bottom edge, and then just fold it over and sew it up. The only thing is that you might need to do it in sections because my blanket is very long and it doesn't have enough needles on the LK150 to do it at the one time. You just have to do it 2 or 3 times and sew it up. And if you do it that way, you probably will have to pick up less stitches because the side edge is usually a little bit compressed. So you can make a sample and try it. Maybe skip every 4th stitch or every 3rd stitch and see if that's the look you like. Because if you do every stitch, I think it will flare up. So today I'm just going to do it vertically. So I pick up the edges and knit a panel. And I like my blanket to be a little bit wider. I can just estimate from this section to see how many stitches I need to cast on. I think I will knit about 4 inches wide, and that means I will have to knit a panel of 8 inches and fold it over. According to my stitch count, I have about 15 stitches to be around 4 inches. So I'm going to cast on 30 stitches and then just fold it over. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So that's the plan. And since I have variegated yarn, the panel will not match the color, but that's part of the design. I don't mind it to be different on both sides. So I started with 30 needles. You can use any type of cast on. I'm just going to use a simple E-rub. And I will follow the same tension as before. I use tension 6.5 and mast tension is number 7. This yarn is a little bit fluffy, so you have to be a little bit more careful or it can break easily. I'm not going to pick up the stitches yet for the first 10 rows because it's kind of difficult at the beginning. And starting from here, I will pick up the stitches. For the yarn tail, I just tie a knot and put it in between the folded edges. And I have the textured side facing me, the tuck stitch side facing me. And I'm going to pick up stitch here and hand it to the first needle on the right. And I have the carriage tension 6.5. Now let's knit 1 row. And we'll continue the same way. And you can see after we knit up, this side, the purl side will match our tuck stitch side, if this is what you want. And the other side will be the knit side. To pick up stitches, I find the best way is to pick up every stitch, every row. So there will be a big chain and then a small chain or a knot, and then another bigger chain alternating with a small chain or the small knot. If you turn it to the edge, it looks like a knot, but if you turn a little bit, you can see the chain. And I try to do every other stitch, skip the knot, but it seems getting a little bit tight, so I'm going to just pick up every stitch, including the small knots. So I pick up every edge stitch. This is the current one. Pick up the next one. And here is the next one. It's a small knot. You can pick up just one leg. It's easier this way for the small knots. And the next one is a bigger chain. So pick up both legs. The next one is a small one again. I just pick up one leg. I find this is the easiest way to keep the tension even. If you skip every other stitch, make sure your mast tension is high enough so it's not too tight. So after you finish all the way to the top, you can just fold the piece in half and sew it up. And also sew up the top and bottom of this panel. And that's it. You will finish your blanket. And you can use any stitches. I will probably use a whip stitch. It will be very quick. So I hope you like this video. Thank you for watching and happy knitting.